Mark thought he understood Lindsay. 7 years of marriage had created a rhythm, shared tasks, mutual respect, steady communication. Nothing flashy but solid, and above all, Mark believed in loyalty. For him, cheating wasn't a grey area. It was a deal-breaker, non-negotiable. So when they sat down for a quiet night with a highly rated streaming drama, he didn't expect a spark to ignite something far deeper. The plot? A wife entangled in an affair with a colleague. Lies, apologies, false reconciliations, ending with no clear resolution. As the credits rolled, Mark said casually, like he was choosing pizza toppings, "I could never stay with someone who cheated on me." Lindsay didn't answer right away. Her eyes stayed on the screen. Then she turned and said, "Sometimes people slip. One wrong choice doesn't erase everything. Forgiveness matters." Her tone was measured, almost clinical, as if explaining a concept, not reacting emotionally. Mark frowned. "So you think infidelity can just be brushed aside?" She replied, "Everyone has weaknesses. What matters is whether they feel remorse and try to make it right." What started as harmless commentary began to shift into something heavier. Her words felt preloaded, not spontaneous. Like she'd rehearsed them in her mind before. In the days after, Mark's senses sharpened. He noticed her growing distant. She became irritated over trivial things, deflected when he tried to discuss anything meaningful, claimed stress, started working late more often. Her phone felt always locked, always flipped face down. He wasn't the suspicious type. But her behavior, paired with that conversation, stirred something uneasy in him. He remembered Derek, the name she often mentioned, a jokester at work, sent memes, texted often. She always said he was just funny. Then came a suggestion to spend the weekend somewhere new. When Mark offered a closer town with great food, Lindsay shut it down immediately. Her bad memories excuse came too quickly, like she was dodging a landmine. Mark began questioning everything. Not just her, but himself. Had he done something wrong? Missed the signs? Pushed her away? But the more he searched, the more he realized the distance wasn't something he caused. It was something she was hiding. Then came the break. One afternoon, a cancelled meeting brought him home early. The house was quiet, but he noticed faint traces of smoke in the air. The fireplace was still warm, recently extinguished. Upstairs he heard movement, zippers, drawers, the shuffle of packing. He walked to the hearth and knelt down among the ashes, a partially burned photo, a man's arm, a pale dress beside it. And on the back, a fragment of handwriting survived, just the tail end of a sentence ending with an unmistakable L, Lindsay's handwriting. She came downstairs moments later, dressed up, hair freshly done, said she had a work dinner. Mark wished her a good night and watched the door close with a sharp metallic click. The silence that followed felt heavier than words. Later that night, he retrieved the burnt scrap and slid it quietly into his wallet. The doubt was no longer just suspicion. It was becoming certainty. The next evening he made his move. 3 tiny audio recorders, one hidden between books in the living room, another in the bathroom cabinet, and a third tucked in an unused laundry box. If she wouldn't speak the truth, the silence would. For 2 days, nothing but ambient noise, TV, small talk, voice notes to friends. Then, day 3. 9:47 p.m. bathroom recorder, her voice soft, almost affectionate. "Hey Derek, you've been on my mind all day." A pause. "Yeah, I wiped all the messages. Don't stress." Mark went to bed early as usual, then a quiet giggle. "Saturday's good. Same place. Room 204, right?" A breath. Then she whispered, "You know this body's yours, Derek, always has been." Mark froze. He knew the name. Derek Myers, the office clown, the helpful guy, the one she always laughed about, who sent too many emojis. Mark opened his laptop and typed the name. LinkedIn, company website, social feeds. There he was, blue blazer, cheesy grin. One photo showed Lindsay beside him at a corporate mixer, her head leaning just slightly onto his shoulder, a wine glass in hand. The caption read, "A team that laughs together stays together." She had liked it first. Mark replayed the recording. this time catching her warning about Derek's wife, Jessica, getting suspicious. This wasn't an isolated mistake. It was a pattern. A second life, scheduled, secret, intimate, ongoing. He sat there for hours, staring at the screen, her voice echoing in his mind. This wasn't just betrayal. It was strategy. The woman who shared his bed had been giving herself to someone else, with routine precision, while looking him in the eye each morning. For the first time. Mark wasn't confused, he was clear. Mark had already lost her, he just hadn't caught up to the truth yet. Lindsay was gone long before he noticed. That night, unable to sleep, Mark spiraled into a digital deep dive on Derek Myers. He combed through archived posts, filtered through party pictures, dissected old comments, hunting for patterns, history, anything. The deeper he dug, the more undeniable it became. Lindsay and Derek weren't new. This wasn't a fling. This was deliberate, long-standing, hidden with precision. One post in particular hit him like a blade. 7 months old, Derek in a nearby city. In the reflection of a store window, barely noticeable unless you were looking, Lindsay's profile. Small, blurred, but unmistakable. By morning, Mark called out of work without explanation. He typed Jessica Myers into the search bar. Found her instantly. Straight dark hair, cold intelligent eyes. Not many posts, deliberate, guarded. He messaged her. "We need to talk. It's important." She read it, but didn't respond right. Away. Hours passed. Late afternoon, she finally replied. They agreed to meet. Quiet cafe off the main grid. When Mark arrived, Jessica was already seated. She didn't look surprised. Just nodded as if she'd been expecting this moment. He didn't waste time. Lindsay, Derek, the affair. I have evidence. Jessica exhaled slowly, reached into her bag and placed a thick folder on the table. Inside, screenshots, cryptic messages, suggestive nicknames, hotel receipts, meticulous documentation. Even a photo of intimate clothing, Lindsay's, that she'd discovered in Derek's trunk, she'd known for weeks. Chose silence. She was preparing her exit. Quiet, calculated, no drama. Just a clean legal break. Mark sat still, his world collapsing in mirrored agony. Another life torn apart by the same two people. Jessica didn't weep. Her grief was already spent. "Take what you need," she said, sliding him a copy of the file. "But I'm not looking for chaos. I'm done." She left with a brief touch to his shoulder. Mark went home with nothing left but hollow eyes. Lindsay was lounging on the couch like life hadn't cracked in two. He said nothing, went straight to the bedroom, locked the door. All night he stared at the ceiling, hearing her voice loop in his mind. "My body is yours, Derek." Sometime after midnight, he walked to the kitchen for water. Her phone lit up on the counter, another message from Derek. He didn't check it. He didn't need to. The next day, he waited. She walked in after work, carefree, laughing about traffic and office gossip. "We need to talk," he said flatly. At the table, he laid everything out, recordings, screenshots, timelines. At first, she fumbled with lies, claimed someone was out to get her. But as he named places and dates, her defenses cracked. She folded in on herself, crossed her arms, looked away. Finally, she confessed. Yes, it was Derek. Yes, it started out innocent. Yes, it became something else. She blamed Mark. Too distant, too buried in work. Said Derek made her laugh, made her feel seen. He said nothing. Then came the second blow. She admitted to being with 2 other co-workers. "It wasn't planned," she insisted. "It just happened." She reached for his hand. He pulled away like it burned. He stood up, went to the bedroom and started packing. Backpack, essentials, no ceremony. She followed, pleading, swearing she could change, that it was him she loved. He looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Love doesn't survive behind locked doors and whispered lies." He walked out, checked into a modest hotel, no checkout date. He spent the night lying, awake trying to figure out where he went wrong. Her messages started early the next morning. Guilt, apologies, promises. He didn't answer. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was bone-deep exhaustion. He didn't want advice, didn't need sympathy, just distance. Each message from friends, each call, each comment only widened the wound. Some people had suspected, others were blindsided. Mark replied only when necessary. He avoided everything. Her voice, her touch, even the echo of words meant for someone else inside the home they once shared. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was architectural. A parallel life she built while pretending he was still part of the plan. Now he had to start again. From nothing. From the ground up. He returned to the house only once. Briefly. To grab papers and a few clothes. He warned. Her he'd be quick. The place was silent when he stepped in. She wasn't there. On the kitchen table. A folded letter with his name on it, written in her handwriting. He froze. He nearly tossed the envelope without a glance. But something, curiosity, maybe memory, made him keep it. He slid it into his jacket, finished packing, and opened the closet. His shirt still hung in perfect rows, untouched, waiting, like she thought he might come back. He zipped the suitcase, scanned the room once more, and walked out. At the hotel, he sat on the edge of the bed, hands quiet, heart louder. Then he opened it, one page. Lindsay wrote she was transferring at work, thinking of moving, said the apartment held too much of what went wrong. She felt shame, regret, said she never meant for it to end this way. She closed with, "If you need to let me go, I understand, but I hope in time you'll forgive me." Even from a distance, he folded it carefully, tucked it into his bag. No reply. Some things end best in silence. Grief doesn't vanish. It lingers in routines that used to feel like home. He changed his routes, stopped going to their favorite cafes, even shifted gym hours. Not to avoid her, to avoid the weight of what used to be. Over lunch, someone casually asked, "How's Lindsay?" Mark just said, "We're no longer together." The air stilled. No questions followed. He realized this would keep happening. He was ready. No one needed his version. One evening, he parked by the old park, the one she used to fear after dark. She had clung to his hand that night, said he made her feel safe. He believed her. Now the memory stung more than it comforted, because the pain wasn't in the betrayal. It was in the way she made lying look easy. Days later, he met with a lawyer, said what he needed with few words. "I want it over. She can keep what she wants. I'm done arguing." Lindsay didn't resist, signed the papers. No drama, no closure, just a quiet, final split. Then, on a quiet Sunday, a message from an unknown number. Her mother. She said she was sorry, that she still saw him as family, that she hoped he'd find peace. Mark responded with kindness, felt odd but not unwelcome, like an echo from a life that had already shut its doors. It reminded him, even when someone breaks you, the world keeps spinning. Some people leave, others are left to sweep the pieces. That night he walked with no phone, no destination, just cool air, footsteps and space. And for the first time in months, he breathed. It still hurt, but something. Inside was shifting. Something was opening, not to let her back in, but to let himself start again. On a park bench, watching strangers blur past, he realized something quiet but true. Love without honesty is just a wound dressed as memory, and sometimes the only way to survive is to stop trying to save someone who never asked to be saved.